Hello, Jordan. How are
Hi,
you?
Jordan. How are you?
Hi.
We are speaking to you now for the first time today.
With our voices, exactly.
Yeah, there has never been a conversation before this. We have
No,
I was
always
actually
lived
just
in the EA podcast stream.
I was actually just thinking that. I'm like, have we actually met in person?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
What
No.
is meat space? Who does meat space
Yeah.
anymore, right?
I've only been to like one in-person like sci-fi fantasy convention and it's in Minneapolis. So I don't think you all were at
I
that.
have never been to Minneapolis. I would have remembered.
I have only in an airport transfer, but I will be in the future, so
It's a cool city. If y'all ever in town, you got to hang out. We have a daybed.
my my company
We're looking to save some money.
is headquartered there
Nice.
now. So that
What
might
is?
the company I work for is headquartered there. So
Oh
What
heck
works
yeah!
for
You
Hank Scorpio?
got to like come visit on the company dime.
right,
Yes.
it's even the greatest. That sounds even better. Vixen says
my
this may
favorite- it's
unholy
my favorite
union ever.
Halloween.
Well, we're
Hey,
just
Vix.
getting started. Exactly.
So, Jordan, what is horror?
Um,
nice
absolutely not gonna ask
softball
you that
to
question,
start
I
us off with.
Well, Webster's dictionary
Thank
defines
you.
horror as.
Thank you.
I mean, if we can have that conversation if you want to. It's something I've been mulling around a lot, but that's a very contentious.
Well, how did you get into
Discussion.
horror? How
Yeah.
about that? Why is it your
I
preferred
accidentally
genre?
got into horror. Like I was raised in a very conservative Christian household, and so I saw some horror in my childhood, but it was like snuck here and there and just little bits. So I was never a horror fan growing up. And then I went to lots of Christian Bible schools and stuff. So that was also not a place that really engendered a lot of horror fanness. Even though now looking back, it definitely feeds a lot of good um, symbology into my writing and stuff.
Well,
But I got into horror by writing the Dread Singles Twitter account, and I didn't think I was writing horror. I just thought I was just being weird and writing weird stuff. But everyone else thought it was scary and horror, so I've kind of come into it sideways. But over the last several years, I have taken very much given myself a crash course in horror by reading just a lot of books and watching a lot of horror.
nice.
And I think it's about the loss of power. Is what I think horror is a lot of times.
Interesting, because
That is one of the best definitions I've heard.
the loss of power.
Yeah.
Because you maintain that it's ultimately a hopeful genre because it's about what you encounter and what you survive and what becomes of you, but ultimately that you persevere or you come out the other end of it. You may not
Yeah.
be the same.
I mean, it's such a wide ranging thing
Right.
covering so much. But to me, the parts that are actually scary is loss of power, loss of agency.
Yeah.
And the parts I really enjoy is the dialoguing with taboo. Like
Yes.
things that we see as our society has puritanically made into the evil. What happens when we allow that to be the thing that we are full of, like devouring or being devoured, or striking back at the things that are coming at you, like the revenge plots of like Final Girls and stuff. Like it's all like horror in like shocking, but the shocking part is that our society is seeing a woman take her own agency into her hands and say, fuck you, I'm not gonna die.
Yeah.
And that's what
And that's supposedly what was the shocking taboo part when it first came out. But that is something that then can be embraced as an empowering part of the narrative and be focused upon instead of being an ancillary part of the plot.
It's interesting to me that the two films which my brain instantly jumps to for that are Cabin in the Woods, which is a really good example of the banality of atrocity. There's no scene in that which is more disturbing than the cocktail party whilst the final girl is having her final girl experience.
Yeah, exactly.
On the TV screens. And there is an indescribably horrible French movie called Martyrs, which is ultimately all about the conspiracy to manufacture a saint.
Ooh, I have to.
George's like,
When you
wait, I
said
gotta
manufacture a saint, I now have to write this down and watch.
It
Martyrs.
involves the single most horrifying thing I have ever seen done to a human body.
Ooh,
And it goes very...
count me in.
It goes very Clive Barkery in the idea of when you come out the other side of pain, there is vast enlightenment, that kind of thing. And
I'm not a huge Clive Barker
Me
fan.
neither.
Caveat it with I love the movies that have been done from translations of his work, but I am not a fan of his prose.
I had a long, very fruitful conversation. No, was it that?
I'm open to being shown I'm wrong, and I've been told the short stories are more what I would enjoy. But I read like the Crimson Hymns, the Scarlet Gospel, and I was just like, to me, for my taste, and this is purely subjective, it was very kind of like mean-spirited horror.
The two bits of Barker I was always very fond of were In the Hills, the Cities might be a perfect short
That's
story.
the one everyone keeps telling me.
So fucking
like at least 5 people every time I say I don't like Barker, my friends are like, read In the Hills, the Cities.
Yeah.
Because they think I will like it.
In the early 1990s, there was in one of those moments where whoever is in charge of Marvel briefly lost consciousness. They commissioned a fully painted adaptation of some of the Books of Blood, and John Bolton drawing In the Hills, the Cities haunted my nightmares.
Oh,
for
wow.
about 2 years. Oh yeah,
that's amazing. I always think of Barker as like a frustrated painter. Yes. A frustrated painter who wishes he was a painter but had to write to pay the bills.
No, I get that energy.
Because in all his books, he's always like, the picture of him is like with a big painting, and he's like, no, I'm a painter. I guess you can read my books, but also I wish I was a painter more.
Look at my paint splattered vest and my awesome arms.
Yes.
And I recognize like his importance in like as far as queer literature too.
Oh god, yeah.
And my dislike of his horror is not a dislike of the importance of him being in the queer lit, saying we don't have to be a certain way, we can be nasty and rough, and that is a valid thing for a queer man to write about.
I'm really glad you mentioned how fond you are of the movie adaptations of Barker, because
like the first 2 Hellraisers are great.
You see, I cling on for dear life through to 4 because the visual gag at the end.
Oh no.
The visual gag at the end of 4 makes me ridiculously happy. The space lament configuration.
I've never made it through all of the other sequels. Like I usually tap out around some
space,
part where like 2 people are like vomiting into each other's mouths or something. I'm always like, oh no, I'm good.
Yeah, thank you, goodbye.
Thank you, goodbye. There's no plot. This is just like visual splatter gore art piece. But I am interested in the new one.
But the things that we'll come on to that. But the things that get me about the movie adaptations are like the mundane expressions of bodily pain that stick with me. Like, I'm sorry, all I have to say is that nail, and everybody immediately goes, "Oh!" I mean, that's what sticks with me from that first Hellraiser movie, is that fucking nail.
What sticks with me is like the body rebuilding itself out of blood, which is like amazing. Such good practical effects in the first 2 movies. I also fucking love the Leviathan plinth in like the hellscape. That's like, I use it all the time as like a gif because it's just so good.
The other one I was always really fond of was the movie version of Lord of Illusions. Because
so good,
right?
So good. I love Lord of Illusions.
That's what got me. I just
I love that when I was watching that. I'm like, this is a Mage the Ascension campaign that like somebody like just turned into a movie.
I wouldn't be surprised. Not at all.
I just really like the gag about 20 minutes in where someone goes, so you're Catholic? Yeah. And Baptist? Yeah. And Buddhist? Yeah. And Hindu? Mm-hmm. And Mooney? Yeah. Why? And just Scott. Go ahead.
You have like a story about a weird cult, and I'm in. Like,
right? And just
cult that's actually for something real, not like the get you. It's like the real horror is man. I'm like, no, fuck you. That's the news. If you're gonna have a weird, creepy cult story, there needs to be an actual creepy god or entity or something at the end. Like, don't give me that. I could watch the news if I want to watch like the horror of humanity. I'm watching this to get something that's not the news.
True crime is horror for people who don't want horror, right? It is every bit as horrific. It's just.
I mean, true crime is just looking into like the gaping horror of being a human, and like horror, I think, is best when it takes that and turns it into something transformative instead of just wallowing in the pit of it.
Absolutely.
Then that's why you think it's hopeful.
That's why I think.
And that transformative thing doesn't have to be happy or triumphant.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be like seeing it through another lens or identifying with the evil so that you can then understand the evil more. I'm not saying like, I kind of hate happy endings unless they're really, really deserved, I like the bleak endings. My favorite ending to a TV show ever is season 1 of the Terror. Like, that is the best ending ever.
Have I seen The Terror?
The Terror is based on the Dan Simmons novel about the Erebus and the Terror, the 2 Royal Naval vessels that attempted to open the North Passage, and it didn't go well.
Oh wait, I know about this because I know
didn't go well at all.
I know
Like,
people
my partner's
who love
favorite genre of literature is men with their hubris getting what they deserve. So she loves anytime like
the
that kind of stuff
comeuppance
happens.
genre.
The comeuppance of male hubris.
Literally any chapter or episode of that story could be subtitled "Mistakes Were Made."
Mm-hmm.
Does it involve my?
But
favorite
I think
thing?
it does a great job of like throughout the whole thing. It just satisfied everything I wanted out of a creepy TV show.
It's just been described in the chat as sleep crimes. I see so much fan art of it, so I really ought to get around to it.
I didn't watch the second season because it's all about like Asian mythology, and a lot of people were like talking about how it wasn't written by anyone who was Asian.
Yeah.
So I kind of skipped that one. But the first season, because like each one's a totally different story. So like
kind of like
the
American
second-
Horror Story, or
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
True
And I
Detective.
I was just really surprised that they did a second season at all, because like the Terror's over. Like that's the name of the novel, so I didn't think they were just going to keep expanding on it.
But you know, things
It's probably
like
a
that,
cash
like-
grab because it was so popular.
Well, yeah, anthology style shows. I mean, we've been doing them in fiction forever, but now all of a sudden, like visual media are starting to realize.
Well, it's amazing now that people are finally have invented the genre of the narrative podcasts.
I
You
know,
like,
man.
That just came out last year, and it's so good that it's finally happened.
I love that he's trolling us. I absolutely love this. Reset the clock.
I get so pissed every time I see that. I'm like,
Yeah, podcasts were invented in 2014.
My eye twitches.
Don't you know, Jordan?
Yeah.
2014.
I thought podcasts came out in 2019.
You know,
Only the pandemic has the only reason there's ever been like a narrative podcast.
why on
before.
earth would you talk into a microphone and read a story and share it with people? They're like, what? What
Poor
is
pseudo
that?
Scott. Just sigh.
Oh my god.
My all-time
Oh my
favorite
God.
subdivision of that was the point where I think it was Q-Code who started doing all of that. Here is an actually halfway decent genre fiction show with a single, pretty fucking famous cast member in it. And for the first 2 years they did that, their tagline was, "This isn't podcasting." And every time it came up, often in the street, I would go, "Yes, it is!" out loud.
Yep.
And
Sure is.
you know.
But you can't-
Podcast just means radio now, guys. Like that's all it means.
But this does Tessa Thompson. That means it's a podcast with Tessa Thompson in it. It
That
doesn't
means
mean it's a new and exciting wheel.
that
My
means
God.
you got a budget and we didn't, and we hate you. That's all
Podcasts
that
are
means.
real. Big if true.
I have a very
You have to put that on the t-shirt.
Huge if
okay?
true.
Huge if true has to happen.
All you have to do is we can make as many shirts as you want,
Oh
man.
my god, I have a list. I have
Drunk
a
with the
whole
power.
frickin'
Anytime you have like a little snarky thing, we can throw it on a shirt really
Okay,
quick.
we have an open DM thread. This is gonna go well. This is
Yeah.
gonna go very, very well. Freaking love
I
it.
have a very complex relationship with the upcoming Ghostbusters movie because at some point during that fucking film, we're going to see a CGI version of Egon Spengler, and I will be emotionally
We are, aren't we?
compromised.
Oh yeah.
And it is made even more complex by the revelation in recent weeks that one of the main characters is a kid called Podcast.
Fuck you.
And
That's like his nickname,
it's apparently his,
Well, yeah, I had a friend.
or it's his given name, and his parents are like new millennial hippies.
Podcast McKinnon. You
This
come in here and
literally
finish
happened to me
geography homework.
yesterday. I got a DM from someone who's saying, "Help me! I just met an adorable baby named Kylo."
Like that's the actual name.
That's the actual legal name.
Whoa! I mean, I guess like Nick Cage named his kid Kal-El. Poor fucking kid.
What? Well,
Yeah. Well, his
okay,
son's name is
okay.
Kal-El.
Grain of salt the size of a boulder. It's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I
right?
mean, he could go. He can never go any way. Like once a man gets rid of his sideburns for that long, like it's just you can't. You don't know what he's gonna do.
It has
He's
just this
unpredictable.
second occurred to me that there is a non-zero possibility. We live in the timeline where at some point in the next few years, in the middle of an interview, Nick Cage will pull his Mission Impossible mask off, and Andy Kaufman will reveal the greatest structural joke in human
Oh
history.
my god, could you
That would be great.
imagine?
I would trade him. Yeah, I would trade him.
Yeah. 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 Don't. You're gonna name your next cat Podcat. Oh God. Well, remind me.
Podcat. That's actually great.
Podcat is good.
Because then, if you have a cat basket, it can be your podcatcher.
Oh, kids named Khaleesi? No.
Oh God.
There's a lot of baggage with that name, people.
Yeah.
Mom, what's the character about that I was named after? Well, she got raped a lot.
And saved all
And then
people of
she
color.
made slaves after being a slave. So like we just really thought that's something we wanted you to live up to.
Right. I mean, respect. I get that people want to honor their favorite stories and properties and things like that. It's just, it's a heck of a burden. As someone who was named after both grandmothers, trust me, it's like, really, don't put all that baggage in one basket.
I mean, my spouse was named after Lady Jessica Atreides, and her last name is Underhill. So she had like nerd names all around.
Wow.
That's very impressive.
The biggest trick I missed though was that when I changed my name, I should have picked like a really awesome middle name, like Danger or something, so that you could literally say Danger is my middle name. But I forgot.
Like Hammer of Witches.
Yeah, Jessica says that if they ever change their name, it's going to be Richard Hardbody.
I dig it.
A friend of mine likes to hold forth at great length about the fact that there really was a U.S. Marine called Master Sergeant Rex Fightmaster.
Wow.
Sweet.
And yes, somewhere in Northern Ireland, Jerry is giggling and still has no idea why. So, horror.
Oh, actually, I want to talk about
Horror.
T-shirts.
T-shirts. Let's talk about
All right,
t-shirts.
t-shirts.
So one of the things we put in the intro is quite justifiably that, kind of like us, you never saw a project you didn't, a windmill you didn't tilt at. And you have, like what Alasdair has, what I would call a portfolio career, in that it's just this eldritch, amalgamation of a million different things. How was
and
that?
Each one suffering because of all the other ones that are also taking up bandwidth.
Hey,
right?
Shut up.
Exactly. But
None of them quite reaching the pinnacle of that area.
I'm laughing because it's the best choice.
Well, who decided that being horizontal had to be the goal? Why can't we just be vertical? I'm just going to cover everything, and that's really important. It works for, slime molds. Why can't it work
birds.
for us?
Works for birds.
It does not work for birds.
Shut up, it works for birds. Jordan,
does
keep
not
talking.
work
We're doing fine.
Okay, I'm doing fine. I'm
Doing birds.
We're
Talking
doing
about birds.
I'm trying to ask a question. But T-shirts somehow became one of those things that stuck for you. And you have some background in design, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
So walk us through that. Because I know the example that certainly got his attention, but was like, did you just have a design that went viral? Is it a hobby that just kind of blew all out of proportion? Because now you were like the go-to merch designer for like genre now.
I hope so. Like that's kind of one of my next goals is to become that. Because so it all started like I worked in design because I was an associate publisher for a comics publishing company for like a decade. So I did a lot of like design work on book covers and layout. So I got very familiar with the stuff. And before that, in my early 20s, I wanted to be a cartoonist. So I drew lots of comics and I lettered posters and lettered comics and stuff. So I had the previous lifetime of being a cartoonist. And I always like thought like, oh, that's a good idea. That would be a cool t-shirt. I just had a bunch in my head forever. And then I was doing the Dread Singles tweets. And this was before like it was still just hot singles in your area. Mostly there wasn't a lot of Jordan Shiveley there. And someone said I would buy that tweet on a t-shirt. And I was like, haha, that's silly. But I put some on and it was like a little bit at a time. But then the people from Critical Role started wearing them on their show. And I didn't know them at the time, but I just suddenly was getting huge amounts of one shirt being bought, And so like that Critical Role is basically why it became a rent payable job.
Nice.
Because for like about a year they wore a lot of them, which is without me talking to them or anything, which is really nice of them. So their fans buy a lot of merch. And then I just kind of expand. When I saw that it was making money, I made like 500 shirts in a year. Just every idea that came into my head, I would make it into a shirt so that it would look like a brand that had back catalog and stuff. And now there's almost maybe too many shirts on there, for people to get lost and they get buyer's paralysis, I guess.
And
but that's how it started.
And then you started doing collaborations, like, we're going to talk
about
it
the collaboration is like, because I know that eventually everyone who wants a leave them at the bottom of the grave shirt will have gotten one. So I'm trying to like expand the collaborations. And from a business model, it's the idea that like I'm giving a service to people who don't have the time or the design skills to do shirts based around their IPs. And they get the majority of the income and I get a percentage drip. And so I'm reaching fan bases that aren't my fan base with drip revenue streams from each one.
I was really happy to see you work with the Luminous Dead just recently.
Yeah, I'm doing a whole series for Caitlin Starling. Yeah,
which is cool.
There's gonna be some Jane Lawrence t-shirts probably next, but we just started out with the Luminous Dead. Yeah.
Do you want to tell the chat what the Luminous Dead is for folks who don't know?
Oh, the Luminous Dead is an amazing, really cool sci-fi caving horror novel from Caitlin Starling that everybody should read. It's really good. Her other books that are also really good are The Death of Jane Lawrence and Yellow Jessamine is really good from Neon Hemlock, who is a publisher that if you haven't looked into, you should definitely look into Neon Hemlock. They are a great queer, focusing on horror, but not only horror publishing house.
Literally 2 of their latest 4 just dropped in my inbox yesterday.
The new Premium Muhammad.
Yeah.
The new Premium Muhammad and the new...
Yeah, and I just started reading the Wendy Wagner one last night.
Excellent.
Nice. Yeah. The other 2.
I finished reading Rooksfield last night too, which was really good.
Neon Hemlock did really good work.
And they're also taking kind of a very tailored approach. The idea that they have like an annual season's worth of stuff, which
Yeah, and in each book, each novella comes with a candle that the scent is built around the theme of the book.
They only ship to the U.S. So if you were outside the U.S., you couldn't get a candle. I was very unhappy.
If you ever want to pay the extra shipping, you could always have it shipped to me, and then I could ship it to you.
Thank you, Jordan.
If you don't mind paying double shipping.
We'll have to figure something out.
Plotting.
Whenever I go to the U.S., it's always like I bring an empty suitcase with me because it's filled with stuff with it. I spent how many hours yesterday trying to buy freaking candy corn in this country because it's almost Halloween and I couldn't find any of it. Went to 3 different American candy stores.
Neon Hemlock, I think, is one of the only publishers that is really thinking about merch as tied into their books. Other publishers do pre-order things, but it's like a pin, and it's not things that you can buy all the time, which I think is leaving money on the table, in my opinion. Which I guess is good for the authors. If the publishers don't take those rights, then they are free to make extra money on their own. Yeah. But a lot of authors don't because they're intimidated, which is why I'm trying to do these collaborations for authors where I handle the business side and they just open up a new revenue drip stream that they don't have to think about.
Okay, so let me know when you have the candle store set up. And
I would never be doing a candle store. That seems like a lot of work. And they actually make them themselves, too.
Seriously?
Yeah, his husband is like a candle maker guy. They have like an apothecary store thing.
That's just way too much work. I'm sorry. I don't have the counter space or something like that.
Oh, yeah, me neither. That's why I think Dave doesn't either. It's all his husband doing it.
That's brilliant.
Your point about merchandise being kind of to go businessy for a moment, being a long tail kind of retail income generator for authors is a really interesting one because there's a very odd example of that that's just hit. The Kieran Gillen, I think Stephanie Hand's comic Die, which Image publishes, has just come into land, and it's a really, really good title. It's basically the most terrifying riff on the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon you can imagine.
Hush, Wendy.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yes. Group of kids play D&D, are sucked into that world, and emerge 3 years later, one of them minus a hand, and not all of them come back. And it's what happens 20 years later when bloodstained dice are sent to them.
So it's like the D&D version of like The Magicians, like Lev Grossman, like a very like dark take on like a classic fantasy trope.
Exactly. But one of the things, because of how Kieran's brain works, one of the things he did basically as they were prepping the book was he wrote the RPG they play.
Of course he did.
And he continued writing the RPG they play as the book came out. And there's a very, very good tabletop RPG publisher over here called Rowan Rook and Deckard, who just won, I think, 8 Ennies, which is the RPG industry Oscars. And to the surprise of absolutely nobody, he's now about to release, the team as a whole is about to release the Die RPG through Rowan, Rook, and Deckard. And people are just going,
Oh,
okay.
cool, yeah.
But people are like,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
when's the Kickstarter launching? And how many minutes will it take to fund?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wrote a supplement splat book for Spire when it first came out.
That is such a good game. Love Spire.
Yeah, I love the setting. Like I was like so happy that they wanted me to write anything in it.
Speaking of things that people were happy to have you write.
Yes.
Let's talk about
What are we?
words.
Go for it.
Words. I owe so many words to so many people.
So,
some for you and some for you.
Some for you and some for you and some for you. Old Gods of Appalachia. How did that come about and how did it go?
It's still going because I haven't
Great.
finished my episodes yet. I'm basically completely done with the first episode and moving on to the other ones. They had just followed me before they were even a podcast, I think. And someone mentioned that I should listen to it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to listen to that. It has old gods in the title. I don't really like Lovecraft. But then I listened to it, and it's cosmic horror that is completely not Lovecraftian at all. You know, and I think I tweeted saying that I loved it, you know, just because I like to signal boost things that I like. And they were like, oh, yeah, it's so cool. We like you too. And then like they're like, you want to write for us? And I was like, yes, you know, like that would be fun. I've always wanted to write for a narrative podcast. So it's interesting to be able to get to do it finally without me having to like make the whole podcast, you know. Because I always wanted to do one like where maybe like it was like a dream. I was recording a dream journal, you know, and each episode was like the dream journal. It was creepy. But then I'm like, I don't have time to edit and make and put out a podcast currently. So it was good to be able to like just write for somebody. And they are super nice to work for, as far as like
Steven.
They have been very understanding with me. Just like, it's not done yet. I was really sad yesterday, so I didn't write anything.
So we've got.
But yeah, I love that. I love that show, and I hope the fans like, because they have pretty like serious fanatical fans. So I hope they like what I've put into the world that they love so much.
They will.
They absolutely will.
I like what I'm writing, and I think it's good. It's just like it's different than like the majority of the show. So I'm like, sometimes fans will only want the same thing over and over again. So
how much can you tell us about it? I'm guessing very little.
Probably nothing.
Very little. It's a kind of a standalone 3-episode arc that is in between season 2 and 3.
Right, Kato?
Oh, so they're going for kind of the White Vault model of here's the finite season, here's a supplementary finite story off to one side, here's the next season, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they do a lot of. They have whole seasons that are only on their Patreon. So there's like the 2 seasons that are public, but then they have like an entire like 10 or 12 episode Build Mama Coffin season, which is full episodes that you only get to listen to if you're on their Patreon. And they have lots of little mini series that are Patreon only. So they're really good. So like this my episode will affect things in season 3, and it's tied to it, but it can be listened to. Like it kind of floats in a timeline where you could think it happened before or after the things in season 2 and 3, I think.
Chat says, I don't know anyone making a podcast who like has time to make it. Bunch of hustle maniacs over there in podcast land. And I'm like, hey.
It is. Like people think it's so much work. I think people think, oh, you just record it. They're like, no, there's so much extra work on the back end of making a podcast.
Right. I think about it. It's a 3-layer cake, right? And each layer can take all the time that you have to give it. There's the layer of writing, there's the layer of producing, and then there's the layer of like making it sound right. And it will consume every single hour you give it, she says, having been up till 2 a.m. every night this week.
The last 3 nights doing QC passes.
Doing
yes.
quality assurance. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and Steve is a very good producer and stuff, so he does take all the sound engineering very seriously. So that takes a lot of time, I think. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just excited to write for him, and hopefully everyone likes it, and I get to write for more podcasts in the future.
You saw some notes being taken,
yeah?
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Notes are taken. We can move on. Move quickly on.
So we've got audio drama. We have prose. And I want to circle back around
writing
to
a book.
Writing a book. We'll get to that. I want
Get to it now.
Okay, tell us about the book, Jordan.
Tell us about the book, Jordan.
I have been writing for a while now because it's always a great idea to sign your first book contract the month before a global pandemic hits and completely takes away all your ability to be productive.
Or the ability of the
luckily,
publishing industry to like print books.
yeah, but once again, I have very understanding editors who are like, yeah, this is going to take longer than we said, but it's okay. You're writing it and it's going to come out eventually. So I'm writing a book called Hot Singles in Your Area.
Woohoo!
I was approached by a publisher, and they said, you want to do a book with us? And so since it was kind of a carte blanche kind of thing, I was like, I'm going to do a book that is like basically for my followers who have been fans like for the last 7 years with hot singles and all the weird little things I've written. So this book hopefully is going to be a braided narrative story that ties all the weird like carrion child and the huntress mother and all the little world building that I've done in like flash fiction on Twitter over the last 7 years into one kind of like mishmash of a book. It has prose sections that are a continuing narrative of two characters, and then there's sections that are a choose your own adventure book where it's actually like you're going to be playing a choose your own adventure, and that one seems like it's totally not about the characters, but who knows? It's about a necromancy priest going about doing necromancy priest things. And then there's also going to be bits of found ephemera that are like Xeroxed into the book, like receipts and notes and post-it notes. And like, and there's also a bunch of sections that are newspaper pages, like singles ads and like wanted ads where there's going to be hot single tweets in there, but also all the other like help wanted are like all like just fictional weird shit. So I'm hoping what I'm doing is the whole book is going to be more of an experiential narrative than a straight prose middle beginning ending
And
plot.
like the preferred plot for every contemporary occult investigation story from like
that
now
is genuinely
right?
one of the coolest fucking things I have ever heard of.
I hope I pull it off in the way
will.
that
I have no doubt
people
you will.
like, because I am very like upfront with the fact that I want the things I write to be like well received and win awards and shit. So I'm like, I hope this is something, because it's such a weird category. I don't sure there's a lot of other books like it. Like the only thing that really come to my mind is like the City of Saints and Madmen by Jeff Vandermeer. Kind of did the same thing where it's like you're reading all these things that seem like different sections, and by the end you'll realize they're all kind of linked.
Why is that a type of story that you think prose is the way to deliver as opposed to any of the other media that you work in?
Prose is the way I'm delivering it because that's what was offered to me. You know, like cool. Someone said like, hey, let's do a book deal. It might be better as a movie, you know, or like an interactive video game, but I had a book deal, so I went with the book deal. No one's offered to let me write like an app game. So
yet.
But
well, that's an
and also I want to be like a published in paper writer. So well, like I'm doing that.
That's a conversation you and I have a lot, is that it does seem to still be kind of this unwritten rule in, even for people who have extensive, well-received portfolio careers. Can you see me staring at him? That, you know, the prose novel is like the cornerstone of that. It's like that, you know.
Yeah, and I just want to get it. I just want to do it so I can say I've done it. Like I wrote like a 4,000 word short story last year that was set like it was a person tweeting from the publisher Beehive Books. And I know that's not going to be like considered for any like awards as a short story genre of horror, even though I was telling a completely made up story by completely made up characters, live tweeting their experience, unpacking these fake Dracula dossiers. Jordan, so like I love doing emergent narrative, but I also as a writer want to do things that are seen by like the community of writers.
Right? It's like if you have it, then
hey, Spooky Sperry.
Nice.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
So
hi, Spooky.
Well, welcome aboard, Spooky. So I have a couple of responses to that. The first is the kind of stuff which you're doing with this book is really interesting to me, because I think you're doing it at absolutely the right time, and it might not feel like that. About a decade ago, there was a brief and very enthusiastic flirtation with what was at the time referred to as transmedia narratives, and this was kind of an offshoot of the alternate reality gaming, because the Beast, the ARG that was used to promote AI, had hit about that time, and the weird Beekeeper one that was being used to promote Halo 2 as well. And the idea behind Transmedia Narratives was the book is just the center, and you can interrogate it. So you get a book with a couple of receipts and a URL in it, and you type in the URL and it takes you to a website, and you look in the code and there's another URL in there, and you just go further and further down the rabbit hole. I loved these. They were really interesting and really well done. And they cost a fucking fortune, and no one bothered with them.
Yeah.
Because this was before Twitter. Because that is officially how old I am, I have realized this week. That I was an adult for a measurable period of time before Twitter was a thing. And the willingness
Somebody had to be.
To adapt to the kind of digital ecology which we now operate in with Twitter, with Instagram, with all those other things, strikes me that now is a really good time to do that kind of emergent narrative.
Yeah, because we're starting to see it in major, or in projects that have bigger budgets, like, you know, Black Mirror did an interactive episode, and there are interactive video game movies now and stuff like that.
And also, fuck that Black Mirror episode, though, by the way, where they put forward I hate the trope of go off your meds to be creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and they definitely did that. I'm like, no, don't go off your meds to be creative. Meds help you be creative and produce. Your illness is not the only thing that makes you creative or productive.
Right.
Good technique, horrible choice of story.
Yeah, I really hope they do more choose your own adventures, because that's super fun. And like they're trying to like pick up like the 3DO never was able to deliver.
Just as a brief sidebar to that, I know late last year the showrunners for Black Mirror were asked whether there was anything more coming, and I think that the direct quote from Charlie Brooker was something like, "Oh fucking hell, no, not right now. Everyone's miserable enough. So maybe give it a couple of years, and they may circle back around." But
they just came out with one where it's like you're trying to escape from the Undertaker, like the professional wrestler.
I haven't watched
like
that
on
yet,
Netflix,
and kind of.
I haven't either, but I'm gonna.
Yes.
Would somebody please let that poor man retire? They have let him go and brought him back. He wants to go to the grave, apparently.
Let him go.
He showed up in when they did one of their Blood Money pay-per-views a couple of weeks back in Saudi Arabia. He showed up as the hype man for Pitbull, who was also performing at a concert in country. It is exactly
just two tired old guys just trying to hustle.
It is so much. It's exactly as horrifying as you think. I've seen footage. It's just Mark Calloway standing there in his Undertaker gear, not moving, going, "And now," and glances off stage, and Vince is holding like a big cardboard chair, going, "Keep talking."
I wonder if Mr. Worldwide Pitbull ever wished he'd been like Mr. Just a short bus ride from my house, you know, like that he could only like Mr. Just in my general neighborhood.
Mr. Corner Store.
Yeah, Mr. I'm only gonna go as far as I can get within 1 day's travel.
Right.
Mr. Just popping down the shop. Do you want anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Much easier type of career.
Oh my god.
But no, I'm incredibly excited about this, and I kind of sense that you're a little kind of about it. Don't be. It'll be great.
It's more because it's taken me so long to write it, is that I feel bad. But I have to tell myself books take years, and I don't know like what I thought I was just gonna write a whole fucking book in like a year. I know people do it, but I'm not that kind of writer. You know, it takes me time to like get into the swing of getting words out.
That's legit.
Totally worth it. So, game design.
Mr. Going to the Mailbox.
Mr. Going to the Mailbox.
Mr. Corner Store is a solid character name. Yes, a great chat.
Emergent narratives. Let's talk about Carrying Into the Void.
Okay.
Because
I loved making it. I just didn't make any money, so it was the thing I had to put on hold when I got like the book thing. And it's still going. People they're still doing a great job. I just had to take a hiatus.
Could you explain to the audience what Carrying Into the Void is? Because if I
there will be a Venn diagram with "this is one of my favorite podcasts" in the middle, and lots of underlining, and that's about it. Oh, thank you. We didn't get a lot of feedback on it, so like it's nice to hear that people liked it.
Well, yeah.
Carrying Into the Void is like basically shitty lore. If two people just had read a Wikipedia account of something or seen like a TikTok video, and then they try to retell it to each other without taking notes, and then at the very end try to like sum it up in a small poetic diatribe that hopefully makes it into like a goth-spirational moment.
Goth-spirational. So somewhere Susan Palumbo just sat upright.
Fantastic.
Because like, you know, kind of like a dark scripture at the end that is for people who want to have self-care and stuff, but they hate pink and things that are like fluffy, you know, like.
And it's currently Brock and Megan presenting the show.
Yeah, Brock and Megan is so good at it. Like, if you see Megan, anybody, tell her that she's killing it, because she had never done a podcast before, and I think she has podcast voice nailed. Like, she sounds like it's. Some people just have voices that like they aren't super interesting to listen to, you know, no matter how good their content is. But she has a voice that's like, yeah, this is a cool. Like, I'll listen to this person. They have inflection and they seem interesting and bright.
It is.
I sound like a frog, but
you do not sound like a frog.
Frogs are cool.
You said, in which case, you sound like the coolest frog.
Yeah.
It is genuinely one of my all-time favorite podcasts, because you have this perfect combination of these eloquent and funny and knowledgeable hosts, brimming with enthusiasm, just awful shit torn from the forgotten pages of history. The one about the Red Camel, I fucking loved the one about the Red Camel.
God, that was such a fucked up one to read about too. I was like, what the fuck? It was a skeleton strapped to his back? Like,
yes.
What?
So in American history, the military for a while dabbled with the idea of using camels in the American desert instead of horses. And then they realized they didn't know how to do it, and camels were very mean and fucked them up. So they just released all these camels into the wild, and they didn't all die. And so there was this whole big thing about
too?
Very nearly.
Oh
yeah, there was this whole big thing about like this red devil that was like killing people. And it ended up, it was stamping them to death and stuff. And it ended up being a corpse that had been strapped to the back of a camel and kind of like grown into it, like sinewy corpse, like dried it. And so that was what was waving on its back.
Oh my
that everyone
God,
thought was
like
the devil. And it was just like someone getting too close to a wild camel and getting fucking killed. You know,
like
so that was like
things at the car dealerships that they put that they just wave their arms.
Exactly,
Just,
exactly. But
God.
it's like but a sinewy, like
everyone.
dried out like soldier that had been strapped to the back of a camel for years.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
asked.
headline
What was
content
the
warnings.
uplifting anecdote that came at the end of that one?
Oh, I'd have to look it up because I just write them in the moment. So like, I mean, it could be something like, realize that the things you are tied to are not your end. You are structure and bone. You are more than the clip-clop of your daily life. Reach up, cut the straps that bind you, that seek to push you onto things that would make you, something like that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, you have a voice for podcasts. It's totally.
Oh my God.
Totally
It's.
That's totally getting clipped, right?
It is absolutely,
okay.
absolutely one of the things.
I chickened out at the end. I did.
That's fine. It's like you're on stage.
It's so perfectly suited for podcasting, and all three of you, and the one where you came back and you were the special guest, just warmed the cockles of my heart. It really.
I want to do it again. I just like. I feel like I have all these things that I'm on like deadline for that people are going to pay me for, that I would be like a bad employee if I was like spending extra time doing this free thing.
But does it feed your soul, right? You know,
it all feeds my soul. So like, I it was like the lowest common denominator kind of thing.
Scott,
but I do still love it, and I want to do it.
Jordan,
I have guest hosted on Pseudopod, and I would love to do it again.
I'm gonna go look right now and see if I can find the episode.
We are going to have words with people and get you on rotation.
It was the episode about like the diving in the caves.
Oh God, yeah.
Here we go. I'm loading it.
It was such a good story too. Yeah.
I
got like shivers getting to say like the final lines and stuff.
Excellent. That's what I want.
It's true.
Yeah. Everybody wants to sit in the Alasdair chair.
I think writing those intros is fun.
It is.
It
It's
is.
a unique type of writing, isn't it? Because it's
Yeah.
one part commentary and one part mood setting, and yeah.
And they have to be kind of witty and like have good lines, setting people up for the fact that they're about to hear good literature. You know, like
And
I don't know.
I think you are the only person we've ever had on who has managed to be even ruder about Lovecraft than me, and I absolutely salute you for that.
Yeah, I went to a convention this last year, and like I feel like I'm like banned for life. Like they didn't really ban me, but I felt like they're never going to invite me as a guest ever because I may have in the Lovecraft bar
I remember
said
this. I remember
said
this happening.
said that the only thing I want to do from Lovecraft is rob his grave, then piss in it, and then deface the gravestone so that no one will ever know where he's buried and his name will be forgotten forever. And because I'm not against people writing in the mythos. I love people who do mythos correctly. You know, like Primi Muhammad and Cassandra Caw.
Oh God, yes.
You know, people like that. It's the number one. I think it should be called cosmic horror, not Lovecraftian horror.
Absolutely.
Because like, fuck him. He wrote his first short story like 10 years after The Yellow King came out. I mean, like, which is also a racist book, a racist story, but like he didn't invent this cosmic horror thing. You know, he just had an interesting name and wrote a lot. You know, so and also I don't think we as modern people should be like giving him a pedestal. You know.
Pretty much every shitty convention experience I've had has been
Lovecraft.
wrangling Lovecraftian zealots.
Yeah.
So,
And like there's like a
Zealot
Lovecraft.
is a good way of describing it because those are people who have the opportunity to make rational decisions about that horrible person, but intentionally do not do so.
And you can still read Lovecraft. I've read Lovecraft and I still read Lovecraft, but you dialogue with it, with the problematic natures, and you use it for what it's going to teach you about writing and about horror, but you don't put him as a person
You don't
up on a
venerate
pedestal.
it. Right.
And I think keep continuing naming things after him is a big way that keeps him venerated in the collective consciousness of literature.
I know Tananarive do. It took her. She campaigned for close to 10 years to finally get that hideous World
those
Fantasy
fucking trophies.
statue.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but
Congratulations. Yeah. You won one of the best
But they
novels
still
in the
have
field.
the pins, don't they?
Here's H.P. Lovecraft's head. What?
Yeah, am I supposed to like? Is it part of the thing that we then throw this into the ocean, or like what is this like?
That would be a brilliant thing.
This strangely enough, this reminds me. I actually had.
I'm sure we're making a lot of people mad right now, but
No.
Fuck off.
Our track record with not venerating Lovecraft is well known, and I think. Do you know Shitpost Calligrapher? Or
I love Shitpost Calligrapher.
Well,
yeah.
we had Johnny Sims on the stream when his book 13 Stories came out, and there was
It's really good.
Some delightful quote about "fuck that guy" that Shitpost put into calligraphy for us.
I have been known to refer to him as Providence, Rhode Island's premier Celine Dion impersonator, which is a joke which will only ever make me laugh, but it does. I actually had that rarest of things, a cultural interaction with Lovecraft today that was positive.
Bullshit.
Yeah, seriously. I was doing some research on Harry Houdini because when I was a stage magician, one of the last routines I did was a variation on the Houdini seance. Houdini was a famous debunker of crap.
Yeah.
Games,
Yep.
largely because the story goes, he desperately wanted it to be true. And before he died, he gave a small group of his trusted friends a code word, which if this ever came through as a seance, was to be considered proof that he had made it. And he was talking to Lovecraft before his death about co-writing a book about spiritualist grifters.
I need to see the HBO premiere miniseries of him and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and like a buddy cop. Like,
why haven't we done that? We've got like 4 remakes of Tesla versus Edison. Why don't we have
the team up of
Houdini?
Conan Doyle and Houdini,
right?
Like infiltrating cults.
There is, and I think it's out of print.
There are those 2 novels about Conan Doyle.
Yes.
There where it's all about cults and it's real and he's like an investigator. I forget the titles though.
There is a fantastic one-off graphic novel called Necronauts, which is Houdini fought Conan Doyle and Lovecraft
I was in it to the end.
I was gonna say, or was it Burroughs?
Oh no, it's Houdini
okay.
Code. Yeah, literally in investigating supernatural crime, and it's Raiders of the Lost Ark with more tentacles.
So yeah, if you have actually seen that series that was very homoerotic, please do share it with us.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Also, I discovered that Houdini actually had one of Houdini's team was the coolest human being on Earth. Rose Mackenberg was a practicing private detective who called Houdini in to consult on a fraud case, was impressed with him, and basically just went, "I'll be your chief investigator now." And she worked undisguised. She would go into small towns and infiltrate.
Nice.
What a fucking badass!
Right?
Yep.
And she had the
All right, fuck those two dudes. Make her the main character.
Right? I want her story.
She had the best aliases I've ever heard. The two names she worked under most commonly were Alicia Bunk
Nice.
and Frances Raud. Raud.
Oh.
And somehow no one ever looked at this and went, her name spells fraud.
I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
Is that a t-shirt yet?
No, I mean that's Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, so I think they might be mad at me. Which I just watched this year for the first time ever, because I have this thing that when people tell me something is like my own writing, it then goes on a list of something I'll never watch or read out of spite. Because I like to be able to go, I wouldn't know. I've never seen it, you know. To reply guys on the internet who's like, is this just Bloodborne? It's like, nope, haven't played it. Fuck off. But I finally watched Garth Marenghi. I'm like, oh, that is me. You know, like 100%. When he's like going blood, 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 and bits of sick, I'm like, that sounds like a great beginning to a novel. That is totally something I would write in a tweet. Yes. And he has my glasses. I'm like, okay, I see why you have said this, and this is the only one that's okay.
You spotted your long lost doppelganger, and this is the one, right? Exactly.
Unfortunately,
so you basically have a field surrounded. You are aware of this, yeah?
Right? Exactly.
Have what surround it?
Horror. I mean, you know,
I have the field surrounded. I just have to find the part where there's success in it and money.
Well, those are two different things, aren't they? You know.
I need them to be together.
God, wouldn't it be nice?
I have this thing called the rent,
I know.
and like every month, like you got to pay it again.
Such a scam. I enjoy food too. Yes.
And food, and medicine for my brain.
One of the other things that I wanted to touch on real quick, you did some work, if I remember correctly, with Logan Dean a little while ago, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, no, not Logan Dean. I love Logan, but I've never worked for him.
Really?
I just super duper promote him. And
cool.
if Logan ever, I'm like IRL friends with Logan, so he knows that if he ever wants me to write something, Logan, I'll write something.
Yeah, Logan.
I want to write about a feral office that changes and moves around. That's what I want to write, Logan.
Oh, I love that. Logan is behind a game called it's the Company, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great RPG writer. He's great. Yeah.
It's basically picture the SCP Institute, but it's a little bit closer to Viridian Dynamic from Better Off Ted. Try really hard not to die. Good luck.
Oof.
Yeah, it's all about like you work for the evil corporation, basically. Yeah. You're the sad you're the doomed people who get sent in to clean up when the thing goes wrong.
How is that different than my current job?
Probably.
It's not. Just maybe more teeth.
Probably more teeth.
Probably more teeth. Okay.
And health insurance.
Linger on that. I'm not gonna less mopping. That's okay. I'm fine with less mopping.
Actually, I think there's probably more mopping in the Company RPG.
How horrifying is that as a job description? Just 2 words: less mopping. That's kind of how I start out my novel, because
less mopping.
His job before. Well, it's like it was something about like a job with less blood to clean up would be nice. You know, it was like the first line. Right now, it might change, but
that's a good starting line.
Because he starts out working at like as a janitor at a bus station. So. At least in America, bus stations are very sketchy places.
Have I never told you about my Birmingham bus station nightmare?
Oh God.
Oh no! Is it
Okay.
a real nightmare or?
Yeah, it happened.
What?
Birmingham bus station is one of the main transport hubs for the UK, and I ended up there because I was going on holiday with several members of my family at the time, and one of them accidentally conspired to ensure we missed the only train out of Yorkshire for 6 hours.
Oh, perfect.
Literally, it was one of those. We got to the platform and the train was rolling off. So
Oh.
we go to the bus station and we spend 4 hours trundling down the country on a National Express, and we go to Birmingham bus station. And Birmingham bus station is a cave. It is a vault. It is 30 bus corrals underground in a pitch black room. And this room, at this point, this was when the Madeleine McCann case had blown up. So there was this famous missing child on holiday in Spain. So there is a "Have you seen Maddie" poster with this frightened looking little blonde girl every
God.
3 feet.
Oh,
I am sitting on
This is
a bench.
amazing.
To my left is my then brother-in-law, who is reading, I swear, he's on page 700 of a 900-page 7th volume of the complete history of the Napoleonic Wars.
Jesus fucking H.
To my right, a very small European lady comes up carrying a holdall which is twice her length. She sits down.
There's a body in that bag.
She looks at me. It gets better. She looks at me and goes, "I must bathroom. You watch." And I'm like,
What?
and she gets up and goes to the bathroom.
No, I will not.
I'm looking at this bag, waiting for it to move. And the whole time, my brother-in-law is just like, "I am reading about."
They tell you not to do this. Like, it's in all the announcements. Don't watch people's bags.
About watching historical people die. That's all. And there are these posters every 3 feet. And at the exact moment where I think, well, at least this can't get any worse, and I swear this happened, "We've only just begun" by the Carpenters gets pushed through the tinny stereo.
Yes.
God.
Love it.
I have never laughed so maniacally than I did at that moment. I was just like, this is the worst thing that's happened
This
to
is
me
how I
in
die.
some time.
This is what I'm
Oh,
going to think
boy.
about on my way up the escalator. This is how I die. Oh my gosh.
And yeah. Just oh boy.
Wendy is sharing photos of the Birmingham bus station in chat just for all of us. Oh no.
I had like a
Kiwi,
weird one when
links in New Yorker.
in my
I see nothing strange about this.
when in my early 20s, I was traveling from Laredo, Texas to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is like a 2-day Greyhound trip. And we stopped at the Greyhound somewhere in Chicago as like a layover. And I was sitting there, and there's over the speakers, they keep having like this announcement, like, "The Chicago Police Department would like to encourage you not to leave the lit areas." And so I'm like, oh fuck, what's going on? And then next to me, this old guy walks up, and he's using like 2 tent poles as his like canes, and he sits down, and this is, I shit you not, I'm not making this up, because if I wrote this, it would be told that it was too weird and didn't make sense. He takes out of his backpack a small leather coffin and sets it on the seat next to him. He looks at me, like obviously showing me what he's doing, and then opens it, and inside is a small stuffed monkey. And then he reaches into his bag and takes out an orange and a bottle of water and sets it in front of the monkey and just looks at me, waiting for me to do something. And I just looked at him. I was like, "Nice monkey." And then I got up and moved.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I was like 21. Like, I wasn't like gonna like mine this for stories at the time, you know? Like, I wasn't like, now I'd be like, let's see how far this goes. Like, let's see what's gonna happen. I'm gonna like try to make this become even weirder, you know? Like, what's his name? What does he like to eat? You know, where does he come from? You know, I would have had a conversation with the monkey now, but like, then I was like, "Nice monkey."
That's brilliant.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you didn't die in that bus station. That would have been.
Yeah. Apparently, afterwards, I looked it up. It's like the most murders in Chicago is around that bus station,
Great.
which is why they're like, "Don't leave the wells of light. In the darkness, you will be devoured."
I've played that level in Mass Effect. Maybe they're not wrong, right?
Ah yes, Chicago, that well-known passive town. Oh dear.
Yeah. Exactly. We have been talking almost an hour, and I want to give Jordan a chance to like not spend all of his day doing this if he doesn't want to spend. All of his day
I will
doing
talk
this.
as long as you want to. So
Well, can
like,
I show the chat? The
I'll
cool
keep gabbing.
T-shirts now, and you can kind of
Yeah,
like, chat us through the
you
That
need
sounds
designs?
great.
you
Okay.
need to show your fans your new T-shirt collection.
Yay! I just have to remember which button it's on. I programmed a button with the shirts, and I just can't remember which one it
As
is.
Wendy
I'm going to
has,
say
has
they're
so,
there.
so perfectly pointed out, his name is "Excuse me, sir. I was talking to the monkey."
Yes, exactly. Exactly. One of these buttons has the merch, and I don't remember which one it is, so please forgive me. if
Just
I
press them
them.
all. Press them all.
I could, but that would be very time consuming. So, Jordan, you're not going to be able to see this, but what I'm going to now show the chat is the shirts that we are wearing, the awesome pseudopod design. Do you want to kind of talk us through? This was your fault. I'm not going to lie. Like, I remember looking at Void merch because Alasdair loves his shirts and has a whole bunch of them. Though you don't have your favorite one yet. You can go ahead.
Is it
Dracula
Fuck
Mansion.
Mansion? Fuck Mansion.
Yes,
Dracula
it's
Fuck
Dracula.
Oh my god.
Okay, tell us about Dracula Fuck Mansion. Go ahead.
So Dracula Fuck Mansion comes from me getting low key like dunked on by a writer on Twitter. Like they were doing one of those like writer memes where it's like a picture of an old house and it's like, what's your first line for the novel based on this picture? And mine was "Welcome to Dracula Fuck Mansion," and someone captured it with another writer who did a beautiful one, and like about it was the first year of the winter and our youth it was fleeting like ice cubes in a hot drink, you know, or something. And then it's like there's two types of writers, and I was obviously the idiot one, and then there was the pretty one, and that that blew up. It was viral, and so I'm like, anytime I'm viral, I make a T-shirt about it. So I was like,
Nice.
they're making fun of me, but I'm the one who just made a shirt about it and is making money off of mine. You know,
Neener.
Who's going to get remembered?
Who
Now I'm
wore
like,
better, thank you.
I was like,
right?
is my main thing I'm gonna be remembered for in literary world? Welcome to Dracula Fuck Mansion.
It's not going to be the main thing.
No.
Yeah, and also the art on that one, I think it says inside of the thing, but it was by a fan who drew a fan picture of the tweet.
I'm looking at it
And,
right now.
Because every once in a while somebody will illustrate a tweet that I've done, and so I pay them. Obviously, I pay them for his work, and then put it up as the shirt.
Yep.
That is such a good shirt.
You still want it.
I think it is funny, and I definitely plan on writing a smutty choose your own adventure book based around Welcome to Dracula
It
Fuck
has to
Mansion.
be a
Yes.
choose your own adventure book. There should be
Oh, yeah,
more choose your
totally.
own adventure smut. Wow.
Except we can't call it except we need to definitely not call it choose your own
We can't
adventure
choose it,
because
choose
that
your own adventure, yeah.
that company is so litigious.
Well,
they emailed me just because I had written the words choose your own adventure in a tweet and threatened to sue me if I didn't delete the tweet. So now it's choose your own possibly exciting but maybe not event.
Choose your own spice. Okay.
Yeah, I think
That's
you
a
can also
whole
do
nother hour, folks. We'll have a
I
whole
think
nother
pick your
hour
path.
on
Pick
that.
your path is another one you can do because I think pick your path came from them being so litigious.
Well, they're not
I'm
publishing
just-
those books
I'm
anymore,
just
so they just
looking
sue
at you.
people and make money like patent trolls. Anyway, okay.
I'm just
I
looking
think
at
they
you
are
get-
still
get
publishing
an inch
them.
taller and your skin going green, you know?
Yeah, whole nother hour. Okay, so yes, I was on Void merch because you love his shirts, and I bought you a
do.
bunch of his shirts.
Thank you.
And then you would started doing all these cool like metal band name designs, but with authors. And I think that's when I DM'd you. Right after I had talked to Alex and Sean. This year is Pseudopod's 15th anniversary. And we wanted to do something to celebrate it, though we weren't sure what yet at the time. And now we've kind of overgilded the lily. But we'll talk about that
No
after the
such
break.
thing as overgilding the lily.
And
When
I
you get a
DM'd
really
you, and I'm
shiny
like,
lily.
and I'm like, I want a Pseudopod metal shirt. And you're like, I can make that happen. And here we are. Now there is an awesome Pseudopod metal shirt.
Yeah,
and
it
I'm
started out
wearing it.
as a surprise for Pseudopod, and then I was like, I think I was like, we can have a whole collection anytime you want. You just we just have to talk about the specifics, and because I can just do that.
And then the specifics happen.
Now we have a collection,
So now there is an escape pod
and
shirt
all
as well.
of the for everyone who likes the metal logos, those are all hand drawn by an artist called David Jordan. I just art direct. I just am the art director for that series.
And you have
He
a
does
whole
all the
bunch
actual
of them now, don't
drawing.
you?
Yeah, and we're gonna do more. I just need to wait for them to make some money first. because like they have the budget I have for like paying him and then recouping it.
Nice. And then you did a 15th anniversary one for Escape Pod, which Mer and Divya both really, really love, and which I bought as...
Oh, yeah, they like it?
Yeah, I bought it as a sticker, too. And I bought it in the red. You've done it in white and black, so you can put it on lots of different shirts, but I like the red design. I think it's really cool. It is very, almost like...
Red's my favorite.
It's almost like Soviet retro space age stuff, which I really,
I was looking at Soviet stamps when I drew it.
Which is cool.
Soviet matchboxes, too, have a lot of good art.
I had never looked at Soviet matchboxes.
There is very little more inherently metal than Soviet cosmonaut memorials and monuments.
They're great.
Astounding.
It's pretty cool.
And I just drew that one in Illustrator.
I love it. I really love it. I like it. It feels very like aesthetically smooth. I mean, like it's clean and evocative, and I really
I was going for a mix between like I was kind of going for like I was gonna make it like a tarot card, but sci-fi, and it didn't totally come out tarot-y. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna tweak it so it doesn't look completely perfect. You know, that both sides aren't completely mirrored.
Yeah.
But still go for like NASA meets Russian. You know, like that all that 70s NASA with the lines swooping and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad you guys like it. I thought that one came out really good.
I like it a lot.
As someone who inhaled the first two seasons of For All Mankind recently,
exactly.
You hit that one bullseye.
Yeah, no, everybody I've seen really, really likes it.
And I was also trying to make one that would be useful going forward, not just like super anniversary, you know, that like it could just be an Escape Pod shirt forever, you know.
Exactly. And then this is the Podcastle one, and it's a little harder to see this one because it's a much more intricate design.
I'm just all the way through this. I'm just going to sound like Vin Diesel on the Pitch Black commentary. I love this scene. I also love this scene. Every single one of these designs is amazing.
So this one is just Aubrey Beardsley, because Aubrey Beardsley is in public domain, and I was trying to think of something that would say like fantasy without being like a sword guy with fighting a dragon, you know.
And
so
it has the kind of Edward Gorey vibe to it as well, which I really, really like.
And so I cut out the words inside of the cloak so that just the shirt will show through. So depending on what shirt you buy, the lettering in the background will be a different color.
Clever.
So like if you put it on a red shirt, the Podcastle letters would come through, but the rest
be
of
red.
It would be black and white.
The background will be red too.
Nice. Oh, I'm gonna have
incredible.
to. I have to go and take a look at that one. Then, like I said, I just got all the stickers, so it happened.
Yeah, and that's one that like didn't work good when you invert the colors on white on black. So I just did the black one because the white on black for this detail ended up looking very negative photo-y and confusing to parse. Like it looks cool, but it's hard to parse what it is. So I just did the black one for this one.
I like it. And then we have the Cast of Wonders one, which I really love because this is super.
Yeah, this was just like I just had the idea and just drew it.
No, I totally dig it because I got really involved with Cast of Wonders when we were designing their logo when we redid the websites a couple of years ago because it had never had a proper logo before, and we'd always kind of used the comedy and tragedy mask stuff because one of the problems with a YA show is YA is a marketing category or a readership group. It's not necessarily a genre, or at least it wasn't at the time.
Yeah, I had a hard time. That's the one I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? This is such a nebulous concept, you know? But what is YA visually?
Right,
you know?
But I really love that you've picked up on the microphone element of it because what we did with the Cast of Wonders logo is we just put headphones on the comedy and tragedy mask.
It works so well.
Which wound up working really well. I'm actually very fond of that design.
So I really just kind of shot for cast, you know, like they're back there doing a play almost.
Well, that's what's funny about it because Cast of Wonders always talks about itself as being backstage. So, you know, it's set dressing as curtains and it talks about being like a stage performance because that's the branching narrative, the overarching metaphor that they use to talk about their performance.
So you picking up on the other shows refer to them as curtains.
Yeah, their nickname is curtains, and they talk about being in the green room all the time and stuff. And so you know, you picking up on that and using like literally the like puppet mastery type stuff was really cool. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, and when I'm designing a T-shirt, I'm also a lot of times like I see people go too literal you know. And so you have to, I try to think of something that's going to work good as a logo image as well as being indicative of the thing, you know. Like he could have just done like curtains, but that would have been real, like just kind of like, you know, curtains, you know.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I really like about your designs, I mean, I think that the Podcastle one, if I had put it on a different background to show the chat, that would have worked better, is that they're very flexible, and that they aim to be kind of evocative but simplistic in such a way that they can, you know, if nobody knows what this is and looks at this at a distance, they're just going to go, I don't know a metal band named Pseudopod, but I can tell they're a metal band. And then it gives kind of like that insider, it's a podcast kind of joke, which I dig. You know, it's kind of insider without being hipster.
Yeah, I think when you design logo, like at least t-shirt logos, they need to be like visible from a distance, and also think about the bodies that are going to be inside the shirt. You're not just designing a poster. You're designing something that's going to be put across like human flesh that's going to be different sizes and shapes.
And let's talk about this. The fact that the logo was across my chest and not across my tits is really nice. I actually really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Jordan.
It's something I think about. I definitely think about tits when I design.
And Threadless
my
actually
shirts.
does V-necks as well, which is really hard to find. Like Redbubble does not do V-necks, I don't think, which is a pain in the butt for people like me who, you know, don't like necessarily really tight necklines. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Threadless, you can put your design on basically all the merch that they have once you upload it. It doesn't work on everything, so I turn some things off, but for the most part you can get the same thing. Like you can get that on a duvet if you want to have
shower
a pseudopod duvet cover on your bed.
You could get
shower
like
curtains.
a pseudopod shower curtain, which I find hilarious.
But also like mugs and pins and notebooks, all the things that are a little more accessible than people. I have had people buy the duvet covers and the shower curtains, but they're expensive, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
see, I'm all about
I wouldn't pay that much for a shower curtain.
Stickers. I love to be able
the stickers
to,
are nice. Yeah.
Show over time, like these are all the things I've supported and stuff, and like having our own stickers.
Oh yeah, the art of the what stickers do you choose for your laptop?
Yes.
Is the thing.
Right.
Exactly.
I have mine right here.
Let's see it. Let's do it.
I'm gonna have to get some escape artist stickers now that they exist.
I will send you some.
Too.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can get them from the store.
You know, yeah.
So yeah.
Pedro the
Oh.
No fun.
Yeah.
This guy is a British comics artist, Decadence Comics.
I don't know them.
They're super cool. They do like this kind of like more thin line Mobius style sci-fi comics.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, this notebook's about full. I was like, I should put them on so I can hold them up for the stream. I'm like, but I want them to be on a nice...
You want them on the new book?
I want them on a nice black background, and I'm out of black background because I've supported too many publications.
And the cheat for all the kids at home is when you have a sticker that you were worried about getting messed up, just put packing tape over it.
Oh, nice.
And it's like a clear protective layer.
We used to do that with school books. We were told to cover them in wallpaper.
Yeah, we in the United States we covered them with brown paper bags. Yeah.
Yep. Or leftover wrapping paper if you were fancy, but most of us cut up when
wallpaper is cooler though because it's thick
and it's
like
textured
sturdy.
And shit.
Yeah.
And
that's a much cooler thing to cover.
I never
it
had
with.
access to wallpaper when I was a kid though.
It was like
me neither.
Every time you took your workbooks out, it was a little bit like you had a really disappointing present. Like, oh, what's in here? Algebra. Oh.
Well, with the brown paper bags, it just gives you a canvas to write things.
Exactly,
and
then you do all the crap over them. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you get in trouble for having swears.
Or you draw that stupid S that everybody knows how to draw.
I was too old to draw the Sketcher S. Like that wasn't a thing when I was like in school.
Okay, most of the time in school was in my like hairband phase, so there are a lot of Motley Crue album covers on my old math
Nice,
books.
yeah.
I love how just for a second I was like, but you still wear hairbands.
Oh, bless. Yes.
The Ocean in Motion. I love those plastic textbook covers. I've bought them from Japan just for my books because I'm a nerd.
Nice.
And I love like that kind of industrial library feel. I love those.
Oh, I'm jealous because then you could put stickers on them and then probably peel them back off again.
Yeah, because I buy like you can buy that weird Mylar covering that libraries put on books. You can buy those and just put it on your own books if you want like that aesthetic.
Okay, that is not an aesthetic I appreciate, but I'm glad that it exists and you have found it. And that you
The
were happy
last time
about
you
it.
made that face, it was when someone mentioned plastic wrapped sofas near you.
No.
Plastic wrap sofas, yeah, no, it's interesting. Like it gives you a good vibe, like in a story or a TV show, but you don't want to actually experience it yourself.
No.
Because you stick to them.
Yeah,
I
right?
use my butt simultaneously hot, adhered to this, and I think
Yeah,
there's
and
a
wet
static
at the same
electricity
time,
And
like,
situation.
wet at the same time, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's nasty.
Because you're
nasty.
smothering it. You're smothering. It's like you put plastic wrap over your butt when you sit on a couch like that, and not in a fun way.
And on that note,
Do you want your butt to be dextered? Because this is how you get your butt to be dextered.
This is how you get your butt dextered, people.
okay, that's totally going on a t-shirt and it's not my fault. I'm really, really sorry.
But are all grandmas possible serial killers then because of the dextered couches?
The most successful, never detected
is
serial
there a
killer
grandma serial
in
killer
the history
like
of the
league?
universe is frickin' Angela Lansbury
Jessica Fletcher.
in Murder, She Wrote. It's Jessica Fletcher. Jessica Fletcher is absolutely...
Oh, she's the one killing everybody? Yeah. She's always there.
She has to be. She just has to be.
Oh
She's
my,
the only
just-
common denominator.
Just
Unfortunate.
gaslighting everybody.
I know. She's
How
brilliant.
unfortunate. My agent fell into a wood chipper. And some acid.
And
And
somehow
ocean.
I get younger and younger. It's almost like something's feeding me.
Right?
Oh, my hip isn't bothering me at all now.
Something singing from the basement? No, there's nothing there.
Someone did the math.
That's not where we keep the mother.
No, dear, I just make vinegar. Honest, right?
We must feed the mother.
Oh.
Someone did the math, and apparently Cabot Cove had more homicides per year than any American city.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
We have to find that math.
Along similar lines, there's an infamous detective show over here called Midsummer Murders, which is set in a sleepy little village where something like 300 residents have been killed in increasingly bizarre ways. And it actually got so ludicrous. I think I read somewhere that one of the episodes is that actually has a moment where one of the cops is like, Sarge, yeah. A lot of people get killed here, don't they, Sarge? Yeah, son, they do. And just drive off, and it's never
It's just a
addressed.
lovely non-sequitur.
Nice.
I freaking love it. I freaking love it.
What's creepy is that the Cabot Cove Cemetery is very small and hasn't been expanded ever.
I'm sensing vaults.
Where do the bodies go?
I'm sensing vaults or local pie shop.
I'm sensing something that is being fed beneath the pie shop.
Okay, so now the two of you have to collaborate. On
Yes, this is fine.
Just go
We can
write
do
it.
this.
We'll do it for next year's Halloween.
Yes.
OMG. Jordan, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for
thanks for
designing
inviting
us
me.
amazing t-shirts.
Yeah, I hope all your fans like them.
Yes.
Oh, they will.
I hope I'm going to push the right button again. There we go. There's the link in the chat, everybody. Help yourself. There are stickers and t-shirts and all sorts of stuff. Jordan, you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, that link goes directly to the main page, so you're going to have to click on collections
Yep.
and then click on the collections of EA Podcast X Void merch.
But the nice thing about Threadless is that you can throw stuff in your cart from any shop. So, if you need a Dracula fuck mansion while you're at it, or one of those delightful, bury them in the grave they dug for you things, you can get it all at once. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm like a weird writer who has written quotable quotes without having a book.
But that would be a great book.
Like,
It's just-
has people quoting my writing, but I don't have, like, what's that from? Just something that they wrote, divorced from anything else.
But the book is coming, and it will be amazing
Yeah,
when it arrives.
I just have one-liners in my head all the time. I just need to make the one-liners fit into something bigger.
You are not alone. Which is a really roundabout way of saying that at some point a novel chapter will finish with the dialogue. Because fuck 'em. Because fuck 'em.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good line to actually to end on. Exactly. Folks, we are gonna take a little break right now and say goodnight to Jordan, and then when we come back, well, it's not I hope it's going to be light and relaxing and something different. And we are going to play a little game and talk to you about why we are playing that little game.
Yes, and it'll be great.
And we'll check in with the boy and show you his Halloween costume. And we will be back in a little bit.
Here comes the boy.
Here comes the boy. Yeah, exactly. So
Has the boy always had that many teeth? He smiles so beautifully, though. Oh, the boy. Oh, has there always been this many boys? So many boys.
oh, they get all baked up. You know, all these extra boys become very, 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 very tasty.
Oh wait, is the boy your loaf of bread?
No,
Yeah.
no. Oh my god, have you never
Okay.
have you never met Chungus?
Oh my god.
I never met Chungus.
Oh my
I've
God.
seen Chungus on a stream, but I've never like been introduced personally.
This is
to
Chungus.
Oh, hi, Chungus.
Yes, this is the
What? What's
boy
that?
whose
You're-
Halloween
you're
costume
hungry.
is not fitting very well. So.
Chungus hungers? What? I think.
Yes,
Chungus hungers.
Just wait,
Chungus
Chungus,
definitely
just wait.
hungers. He needs to be fed. He's actually kind of boobly still. He's.
Yeah, he was very excited
I
last
bought him
night.
a cute hat and it won't fit. Wendy is inferior. I apologize.
Oh no!
Fine.
Capture this
Oh,
now. Quickly,
oh,
quickly.
no, instead.
Clip it.
Clip.
I'm
Come
gonna
on,
wear
come
Chungus's
on.
hat instead, exactly, because it will not stay on Chungus.
Chungus is such a good boy.
It is. Chungus is a very good boy. Did you see what we have so much Chungus merch? It's like freaking ridiculous.
Oh really?
Look.
Like every good parent, you have to monetize your child.
Well, yeah, we have wonderful, a whole wonderful community of people who crochet.
Who have
and
a crest.
They like have a heraldic crest and like send.
That's when you know you made it.
costumes and I have stickers. Did I have a Chungus crest sticker?
I
on
don't
here
think
yet?
you do.
I think I have one in my bag. Hold on.
Well, I am
Yes.
honored to have officially met Chungus now.
See?
Nice.
They have their own heraldic crest. I love it. It's a worshipful company of yeast coutures. Yes, exactly. So yes, we'll show you some more of the boy when we get back from the break because poor Jordan needs to go now. All right, we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Oh, I'm
Thanks,
gonna play
folks.
this game, whatever this game is.
Get up, get a stretch, check if you need to feed anybody or take any medications or get a drink of water or if you need a snack. Snacks are good.
It's indeed.
And we will be right back.
Bye.